Solo Sikoa makes his move as Seth Rollins leaves him hanging on WWE Raw. An offer that sounds too good to be true, a super kick that came out of nowhere, and a former tribal chief left standing alone in the ring wondering what just happened. Solo Sikoa tried to hand Seth Rollins a lifeline heading into SummerSlam, and Rollins responded the way you respond to a stranger offering you a suspiciously good deal, with polite hesitation and zero commitment. Before we unpack this wild alliance offer, go ahead and subscribe and tap that notification bell, because Wrestling Rush News is covering every twist on the road to SummerSlam, and this Bloodline drama is nowhere close to finished. Let us set the scene, because the stakes here are enormous. Seth Rollins is set to challenge Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam, and if you have followed this rivalry, you know it goes back well over a decade to their days together in the Shield. Reigns has been nearly untouchable during his championship reign, with Rollins standing as one of the rare exceptions to that dominance. So this match already carries massive weight on its own. But here is the complication: Rollins is not just facing Roman Reigns, he is facing the entire Bloodline, and that includes Jacob Fatu and the Usos lurking in the background like storm clouds waiting to burst. That is exactly the danger Solo Sikoa walked out to warn Rollins about on Raw. Sikoa made an unannounced appearance and called Rollins to the ring, and instead of throwing punches, he wanted to talk. Picture that for a second, because in wrestling, when a former enemy says, "Let us talk instead of fight," that is usually more suspicious than an actual attack. Sikoa laid out the math bluntly, telling Rollins this would not be a fair one-on-one fight, it would be 4 against 1, with the Bloodline fully prepared to make sure Rollins never gets a real shot at the title. Here is where it gets interesting. Sikoa offered to watch Rollins back at SummerSlam, essentially proposing an alliance to neutralize Bloodline interference. And to make his pitch land even harder, he brought up history, reminding Rollins that he once sacrificed himself to help Cody Rhodes overcome Roman Reigns and the Bloodline at WrestleMania. That is a clever move, using Rollins' own past selflessness as leverage against him. It is basically saying, you did this exact thing for someone else, now let me return the favor. Smart, but also a little too convenient. Rollins, to his credit, did not just say yes or no. He acknowledged Sikoa was making good points, but he made it clear he needed time to think it over. Sikoa pushed back, insisting there was nothing to think about, framing it as a simple, obvious decision. But Rollins has every reason to be cautious here. Trust in the Bloodline universe is basically a currency that gets counterfeited on a weekly basis. Just last week, Sikoa appeared to be considering a return to the Bloodline himself, only to turn on Jimmy Uso and Fatu instead. So when a man who was fake flirting with rejoining his enemy suddenly offers you protection, you would want a moment to think it over too. Before the conversation could go any further, Jacob Fatu stormed the ring to confront his own family member for even considering helping Rollins. Sikoa wisely retreated rather than get caught in the crossfire, but that chaos created the perfect opening. Rollins caught Fatu with a clean superkick and walked away standing tall, leaving both Sikoa's offer unanswered and Fatu flat on the mat. One segment, 2 storylines advanced, and 0 clear resolution, which is exactly the kind of tension that keeps you coming back for more. Backstage, Rollins and Fatu crossed paths again, and Rollins could not resist needling him, asking if beating Reigns also means getting his title shot and his so-called bag boy. Fatu, clearly still under strict orders from Reigns not to engage physically, warned Rollins that tonight's outcome would not go unanswered, promising retribution after SummerSlam. That is the wrestling equivalent of someone saying, "We will finish this later," in a tone that guarantees they absolutely mean it. So where does this leave us? Rollins now heads into SummerSlam with a genuine offer of protection still on the table, unanswered and unresolved. Does he swallow his pride and accept help from a man who was practically Bloodline royalty not long ago? Or does he go it alone, betting everything on his own resilience against 4 opponents instead of 1? Given Rollins' history of surviving impossible odds, betting against him outright would be foolish, but the numbers game here is undeniably terrifying. Whatever choice he makes, this alliance offer has added a brand new layer of unpredictability to what was already shaping up as one of SummerSlam's most anticipated matches. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.